Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and today we're going to be taking a look at a custom LEGO model. This is the Bricker Build's Kylo Ren Lightsaber. It costs $180, comes separated out with pieces in bags, and is a full-on LEGO MOC that kind of acts as its own set. This, on the other hand, is Kylo Ren's lightsaber from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge over at the Disneyland and Disney World parks. So what we're going to do for this video is we're not only going to be taking a review of this brand new Bricker Build's Kylo Ren's lightsaber that I got at Brickworld, but also doing a comparison with this one next to basically the closest I could get to the real deal. Now, this is actually something I want to make a full-on series because I actually do have a collection of pretty much all of the Galaxy's Edge Star Wars lightsabers. So my goal is to then be able to get all the Bricker Builds ones made out of LEGO and actually compare the two and talk about how they stack up. We'll be talking price, value, building techniques, and everything. So let's go ahead and get into the review.
Okay, so I want to start off with probably the most important feature of this lightsaber, which is the hilt. For the most part, the blade is basically identical to a lot of the blades out there for the Bricker Build's lightsabers, and the most special thing about this is the way the hilt is designed, particularly with the very unique crossguard hilt, which is obviously a very iconic staple of this particular model. Now, here's the thing. The same person who designed this hilt also designed a series of hilts on Brick Vault, which were essentially meant to be display models, not play models, where they were a lot more detailed. And if you actually go look at the Kylo Ren hilt from Brick Vault, you may notice that it is incredibly detailed, right down to flex tube being used as the wire. It is incredibly detailed, but obviously not something that you can actually swing around and play with. And the really cool thing is that that same designer has basically redesigned the hilts from scratch to make them incredibly sturdy, have a very solid core, and allow you to actually be able to play with this model, which is by swinging the lightsaber around. And I really do appreciate how a lot of the details still managed to be captured in this particular model, despite it being simplified to be a lot sturdier. So some of my favorite details here is that you can see that the color of the metal on the kind of prongs here is getting heated up, so you can notice that it is changing color slightly by having the crackling heat of the blade sticking out of that, which is a really, really cool design. I really do like the way that they were able to change the color in this. A very subtle thing, just brown, blue, and dark gray, but it really does feel like more realistic in the way that these ends have been scorched by the lightsaber fire before. Overall, you can see on the side here, there is wire which is going around. I'm just hitting all the different sides of my review studio with this lightsaber here, but you can see that the wire is just represented by some of these kind of hemisphere pieces, which is really nice. You've got some gold detail here for some of the wiring on this end of things, and you can even see some exposed electronics on bits and pieces of the blade that are imperfect, which is a really nice detail. Now, you can move this around and you may see that there is a switch as well, so you can actually kind of activate the lightsaber with the switch there, which is obviously just for show, but I do really like the look and feel of that. And one of my favorite things about it is the way that the back is done. I think the back is actually done really well. You have this very iconic kind of six-pronged end to the back of the lightsaber, which is definitely very reminiscent of the actual thing. This just looks really, really good in the way that it's done. And you can kind of rotate that around to see the overall look and feel of that particular part of the lightsaber hilt. Now, moving onwards to the actual blade itself, one of the things I really want to note about this is that it is special compared to some of the other Bricker Build's blades, because specifically, the way the lightsaber is built is really giving it this crackling motion. While most of their lightsabers are pretty much just standard blades, as they probably should be, this is a little bit more chaotic in the way that certain plates are placed down. You've got certain 1x2s sticking outwards here, 2x2s here, and all in all, this is just a really cool looking blade. It is a very simple building technique, but a very strong one. One thing I do want to note that is probably a common misconception, or at least question that people have about stuff like this, is why didn't they use Technic to actually put this together? And well, the reason behind that is because LEGO Technic flexes a lot. If you were to build a lightsaber blade out of Technic, that would be wobbling all over the place. But by doing it out of system, you basically are using the capabilities of studs on the side techniques, long plates being used to really anchor everything together. And while this does have some more wobble in it than, say, the Darksaber, which is super reinforced by even having some pieces on this side, it is really, really solid in the way that it's constructed. I really do like how strong it is. It's just using a very repetitive, admittedly, the building techniques were very repetitive. I did build this live on Twitch when I did build it together after Brickworld Chicago, and a lot of that was just putting many of the same segment together of 2x2 bricks and then some studs on these side pieces right next to them. but you cannot deny how good it looks as a final result. This looks absolutely phenomenal, and I really do like how strong it is. You can, again, swing it around as you saw in the intro, and it will still, for the most part, hold itself together, with the most fragile bits being right here, when these parts do tend to kind of break themselves apart sometimes, but it's not that big of a deal because these don't really get that much torsion anyway, so you're usually pretty good to just swing it around. Overall, this is a really solid lightsaber blade. I really do like the way it's built, and this is just one of many lightsaber blades that they've made on Bricker builds. So do let me know if you do want to see reviews of any of the other ones. I do think that these are really cool and solid models. It would be very cool to actually be able to collect them all someday, but as of right now, just this one and the Darksaber are the two I own, although I do have my eye on that Cal Kestis saber, so maybe someday in the future. And finally, I want to do a quick comparison of the hilt and blades next to the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge version of the lightsaber. This is the quote-unquote official version of what the lightsaber is supposed to look like, and you can see that a lot of the details were really replicated very well. I'm going to go ahead and turn this one off so the background noise doesn't necessarily affect the review, but as you can see, I really do like the attention to detail. You've got even the blue wire here, which is replicated here. The red wire on the side is done here. There's the golden clip right here, which is done very nicely here, and even the inner core is replicated very well, right down to, of course, that slightly burnt metal look and feel for the edges of the tips here, which is really solid. Flipping the entire thing around, it is a little bit less interesting. On the other side, you've just got the switch and kind of a plain black face for it, but you can see just how accurate this is compared to the quote-unquote real-life thing. And honestly, on my wall, I kind of like the look of this one better because you actually have the deep color of the lightsaber being used rather than just the blade of the Galaxy's Edge version. Overall, putting these side by side, I feel just really demonstrates how good this is as not just a replica of the original hilt, but also a playable replica, something you can swing around and play around with. That is so cool, and it's really cool to put these next to each other side by side. I definitely now need to reconfigure my lightsaber blade to display the Lego thing versus the real thing.
Alright, and with that, we have summed up our look at the Bricker Builds Kylo Ren Lightsaber next to the Disney Galaxy's Edge one. Thank you so much for tuning into the review. I hope you enjoyed this special look at a really unique custom Lego model. Thank you again to the designers over at Bricker Builds for creating such a cool MOC. It was really cool to meet the entire team over at Brickworld Chicago, and definitely stay tuned because I want to be doing more and more reviews of all of these. So let me know in the comments, is there a lightsaber you want to see me review next from Bricker Builds? I'll try and get it and make it happen. Thanks so much for tuning in, and bye for now.